think it's important for kids too. Like I asked one of our guys the other day about he's sitting here, little kid, kind of. He's not shy, but he's more quiet. And I was just like, "What do you do when you're at home?
I heard it.
You know,
Yeah.
like what do you do when you're at
There
home?"
you go.
And his answer, this is the answer. And guys, like this is not an answer. Just so you know, I said, "What do you do when you're at home?" Like I genuinely am curious. And he says, "I don't know.
Yeah, I heard him. I was right there. I
I
laughed.
don't. I don't
The
know."
thing is if you don't, who does?
Yeah. But it's like, what do
Yeah,
you mean you
yeah.
don't know?
And he
Like, how do
said,
you?
"I don't know."
Yeah. How do you not know? What do you do?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know. Just like go on my phone. And it's like, guys, I get that you're a teenager. I get that the phone is really distracting. It's really addictive. And all of us, every single person I know, you go through phases where you're just glued to it. And it's easy to get scrolling. It's easy to play whatever stupid game you're on a kick on, Clash of Clans or whatever these kids are playing now. But it's such a waste of time,
Yeah.
man. It's
Well,
such a waste
to add
of time.
to that, I'm glad you kind of brought that up because didn't mean to just talk about AC/DC and music and how you should be inspired. Because let's say you don't even want to be inspired, like you don't care and you don't get what I'm saying. From a hockey's perspective, I'd like to put it a different way. Is you have no choice but put something in your brain, whether you think you're doing it or not.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So whether you're sitting here doing nothing, something in your brain is working. It's evolution because you always have to be aware, and your brain will filter out what needs to be remembered for certain times or whatever. But having said all that, your subconscious mind never forgets.
Mhm.
So as a hockey player or in life, doesn't make a difference. Your brain is picking up things, thoughts, and what you say to yourself and what you hear, and whether you intend on hearing something or not. Like for example, I learned this from a motivational. Like I think he was like a motivational guy. He said if you could sing. Did you ever watch Sesame Street?
Yeah.
Do you know the words to the song?
No.
Okay, Gilligan's Island, anything like that. But anyways, I'm using
I
that
know
because
those.
someone said that. Why do you know the words to those songs? Like
Heard it a million times.
you heard
the
it
Barney song.
right? Okay, the
Yeah.
Barney song for you because you're younger.
I still could sing it right
Yeah.
now.
So you didn't sit there and say, okay, I as a kid watching Barney
Right.
going, okay, I want to learn the song so I could sing it when it comes on TV and I could, eat a peanut butter and jam sandwich and have have the greatest day as a kid. That's not what you did. What happened is you heard it so many times it's in your brain.
Yeah.
So when you go through life, that's exactly what happens. It's a blank canvas and then things have been thrown there. So your subconscious mind doesn't forget. So it's a matter of putting more in than of what you want. Like if you can control it, then not. So this is what I'm saying about who you hang out with is what you're going to be like. You're going to hear if you hang around with people that are just I don't even want to say negative, but let's just say obviously negative,
Or
to talk
not
about people
aligned with what you're doing.
yeah, but
whatever.
let's keep it like so a kid can take this. If you had someone that always you're hanging around with people that make excuses and complain and criticize other people and are jealous and are just more on a negative state, you're not choosing to take their thoughts and put them in your head. But every time they say that, you're hearing negative stuff. Now, if you hang around with someone that doesn't accept it and they're not talking about people all the time, they're looking at maybe getting better and finding things to improve themselves, then that goes in your brain. And whatever you have more of is what you're going to be. So your brain is whatever goes in is going to come out. It's the rule of computers, right? Garbage in, garbage out. You can't control it, right? If you watch enough, like on your feeds on your computer, if you whatever you were putting in there the most, as soon as you type in the letter A, that's going to come up on the screen because you've been there the most, right? So that's your brain. So my point of listening to AC/DC or watching the concert and going into that little rant was because it's inspiring to me, right? The point of watching ESPN 30 for 30s or watching stories about boxers is because it's all positive stuff. So I'm actually whatever I'm controlling as opposed to watching just a random thing or watching YouTube for aimlessly. I'm controlling somewhat what I'm putting in my brain. So what happens is at some point when you're in a challenge or your natural reflex when something comes up, good, bad, ugly, whatever, is you have something to pull from, and your brain is going to pull from the thing that you put in the most. Does that make sense? So it's really important as players that your mindset is filled, whether you like it or not, because it's gonna be filled with something. To choose more often than not what you're putting into your head. That's either friends, it could be music, it could be movies, it could be books, it could be whatever it is. but you're listening to something. Your brain is because what happens is when you're searching for an answer, like when someone says I'm not big enough to play, and they've said that long enough, and then you say, well, I'm going to try out. I got drafted to the Kitchener Rangers. Um, I'm I'm not very big though. That's already there. And so if you tell yourself that long enough, that's what you're pulling out.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. The I want to pick up on the thread you were saying. Even for people that listen that maybe don't play hockey or they don't care about what we're talking about necessarily, you do though. And the reason that you do is because if you ask people the things that they want, or like what they if they could have things exactly the way they want them, whether it's like it could be a relationship thing with their job, with their kids, with their whatever, everybody wants it to be better or as good as possible, or I wish this conflict didn't happen, or whatever it is. So even outside the context of just learning to perform with in sport, if you're just mom and dad and your kid plays hockey and the reason you listen to this podcast is because your kid plays hockey, there's still like a relationship with someone in your life that you wish was better, and there's something you could do to make that better. But if you never go looking for an answer in a place where you're going to find it, then you won't get it. And then you wake up feeling like shit every day because you have no habits about having a good pre-bed routine. You don't have any good diet habits. You don't have anything, and you wake up and you feel like shit, and you go to your job that you hate, and you sit there in the chair for 6 hours and hate that, and can't wait till that's over. And then you get home, and then you're pissed off because you still have to make dinner, and then your kids come home and they're running around, and you're yelling at them because you're tired from your day. And it's like that. This all still applies to that because your daily life is still a performance. And that's kind of what I was saying about with myself now. Something I learned from sport, when you have to get ready for the big game, or when you have to get ready for fill in the blank event where it's clear to everyone that this is something where you need to perform. Your daily life is no different. It's still a performance either way. You have to perform with your family, you have to perform at your job, you have to perform in whatever you're doing. So all of these little things that we're talking about, it doesn't just apply to the kid that wants to be the athlete. It especially applies to kids that want to be an athlete and perform, because you can get by in life without giving a shit if you want to. Like it's not optimal, and you won't feel as good as you could feel. But it's like, what else do you have to do? You have nothing better to do with your day. It's like, what better thing could you do than just try to make your day the day you want, and you want it to go exactly the way it should go. If you could make it however you want it, wouldn't you want it to be that? you know? And so you have that ideal, and then you can try to work towards making it that. At the very least, you could do that. And so when people, a lot of times if we do an episode like this or whatever, when we're talking about more of the mindset type things that applies specifically to athletes, a lot of people will like fast forward it or skip that episode or whatever. But your life is a game too. Your life is the game that you have to play every day, and it's not on TV or on a camera, or there's not a lot of people looking at it or judging you for it that you can tell, but it's the exact same stuff. And if you ask people what they want, like everyone says that they want this to be better, or that to be better, or I wish I could do this, or whatever. And when I look back for myself, something I say a lot from a hockey perspective, and maybe this goes back to like the athletes that we're talking to. When I look back, and I've said this to you before, if I would have known what I know now when I was playing, like how much better would that have been for me? And had I learned a lot of the stuff that I learned when I was 23, 24, 25, if I would have picked up on some of those things when I was 15, 16, 17, then maybe I make a different turn here or there, and that makes something different for me. And for me particularly, it was always with like training and diet things. If I would have known, or I would have had some better guidance in those areas, that would have been really helpful. And if I would have paid attention to some of the things that were around me, maybe they were there, maybe they weren't, but I know that I wasn't in the mental framework to pick up on them, even if they were there. I would have.